Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Off the Dome Sports Podcast, your favorite sports podcast where two sports lovers sit on this couch in front of Joe Burrow and give their hot takes
off the dome.
What's up, everybody? Hope you're all having a great Tuesday. I know I am. I want to give a quick, huge shout out to the folks at The Know. The Know spelled correctly. That's Kneaux. Go give them a follow on, whatever social media platform you prefer, or all of them. Go look them up and check them out. They got some great content, some great writers over there, posting articles just about every day, it feels like. Just some great guys. Glad to be on the team with them. But let's get into some sports talk.
Adrian Amos to the Jets. Can you believe it? Adrian Amos to the Jets. Breaking news.
Yeah, we just saw that scroll across ESPN.
We're not going to talk about Adrian Amos to the
literally
Jets.
like a minute ago.
We won't talk about them, but I just want you to know Adrian Amos is on the Jets now. Elite defender. That defense just keeps getting better. The Jets are something serious.
The Jets as a whole taking a huge step forward.
How's your weekend, man?
It kind of sucked, not gonna lie. I worked nights.
Oh, no.
It was pretty busy. Sunday wasn't bad.
But we kept you updated with this LSU.
Definitely. Yeah, anytime I had to, leave my office and go do some actual work, y'all were on the spot. So much appreciated.
Hey, no problem, man.
Shout out to you. Shout out to Rebo Hustle, Redfish, who's all the way in North Carolina.
For some reason. He's crazy.
And Lionel Frankenstein, who occasionally pops up in the chat.
Right. All right, man. Let's get into some of this LSU baseball because it was a good weekend to be a Tigers fan. I mean, let's start with that first game on Friday. It was Saturday. That first game on Saturday.
Yeah, the one they Jay Johnson used his powers to make that day game a night game.
Yeah. I saw there are a lot of LSU fans mad it was a day game, so they did the rain dance, did the lightning dance, and it was an 8-hour delay.
Yeah,
it was something crazy like that.
For no rain or lightning or anything, like they had clear blue skies all the way through. They just what happened was they had a big band coming through Louisiana, and they didn't want to take a chance of ruining a pitcher, because if you start a game and then have a long rain delay, chances that you come back in the game are very unlikely. It's hard to stay warm through all that. So I don't know who he talked to or how he did it, but props to Jay Johnson for getting us a night game. LSU fans love the night games because LSU's a completely different team at night.
Without a doubt.
Regardless of the sport.
You're not in the Louisiana hot sun, man. I mean, it's just a completely different, like you're comfortable. But yeah, man, it was Skeens Day. Skeens Day on Saturday. He pitched out of his mind.
Yeah.
LSU got that massive lead. And I personally was one of the guys that questioned, leaving Skeens in as long as they did. And I understand, like wanting to hammer that home, but I was one of those guys that wanted to be a little bit precautionary with it. I wanted him to take out Skeens when he was at 50 pitches because we were up 8.
Yeah, right around the 5th inning or so, we jumped up a bunch of runs, and everybody was saying that we should take him out and save him for maybe if Game 3 appeared and they had to go out again, that he would be able to come back and play if he threw less than a certain 50 pitches or so.
Yeah, he could come back and throw some relief innings. But, it ended up not mattering.
Yeah.
I mean, Skeens came out and pitched a gem that day, 7.2 innings, 9 strikeouts, no earned. Jay Johnson pulls him, so he gets his curtain call in front of the LSU fans. It was great to see.
Yeah, a lot of emotions over the weekend for Tigers baseball players and fans. Taking us back to Omaha, and with a lot of momentum too.
Yeah, I mean,
this team feels unstoppable.
How about the hitters in Game 1, man? I mean, Trey Morgan with 2 home runs.
Yeah.
Tommy White with 2 monster home runs. Dude, I swear that they said combined his 2 home runs went 870
feet.
Yeah, it was what? It just LSU has some dogs. Dylan Cruz was on base like every at bat.
Yeah, and it just goes to show that even if someone or a couple people on that roster are having a bad day at the plate, there's always people that are going to step up and get you runs. Like we saw Travinsky and Beloso go absolutely crazy
Right.
in the regionals, and then the super regionals they kind of take a step back. They're not seeing the ball as well. They're not hitting as well. And Tommy White and Trey Morgan step up in a big way.
Right. Like that's the goal to winning, right? Like whenever you are down, you need your teammates to pick you up. And LSU is really good at that. In this second game, it was tighter. LSU offense still got on the board, towards the beginning and towards the end. But in that middle part, they put in that kid Moore.
Mason Moore, yeah.
Mason Moore. We were talking about him last pod. He was one of their only guys with a sub-2 ERA, and he was filthy. He was mowing down the Tigers. We didn't score any runs. Like, we barely got on base. So.
Yeah. Kentucky started Strickland, and he did not look prepared, I guess is the word I'm looking for, in that second game. He came up, and he just looked scared to throw a strike, and when he did, he got hit for the first few innings, and then they pulled him, put in Mason Moore, and he kind of shut us down for a little while. But Tigers always got some fight in them.
Without a doubt. Dude, I had no idea. I probably should have done a little more research. But I had no idea that Kentucky was such a great fielding team. Dude, they made some crazy plays, and guess what the Tigers did? They came up to that level because the Tigers are not an elite defensive team. But you saw that play from Jordan Thompson.
Jordan Thompson's always been our best defender.
He was number 2 on SportsCenter Top 10 that night for that play where he just that slow trickler through the gap, picked it up.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. And what else is there to say? I mean, the Tigers move on. It was nice.
We could talk. Skeens is up to 188 strikeouts on this season right now.
He's close.
He is 14 away from tying Ben McDonald's massive 202 record, 15 away from surpassing it.
And that's the most strikeouts for an SEC pitcher ever in a season.
Do you think he gets it?
14 strikeouts? Yes. I mean, like think about it. Okay, so he's gonna get at least one start. Even if he struggles, he's going to get a few strikeouts.
Yeah.
He's going to get at least 7. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could see 7 or 8 at a minimum, maximum up to like 13.
It really depends.
As far as we've seen.
It depends on if, hopefully, the Tigers can stay in the tourney. Like, if they stay throughout the whole thing,
yeah,
I mean, it's without a doubt.
Yeah, if they go to the finals, I don't think it's even a question, really, if Skeens can break that record. But it's going to rely heavily on these bats if they can keep up that momentum, but it's also going to rely even more on the bullpen.
Yeah, bullpen looked good.
Yeah.
Bullpen looked really good. We didn't really need the bullpen in that first game against Kentucky, but who was it? It was Guidry.
Gavin Guidry.
Guidry that came in after Skeens, and he didn't give up a run, which is beautiful.
Yeah, Gavin Guidry.
Actually, was it Guidry or was it Blake Money?
You talking about the first game?
First game.
I think that was Blake Money.
Blake Money. It was funny. Blake Money came in the game. I was watching it with my dad. Blake Money came in the game, and my dad looks over, and he said, "You feel safe? We're up 14-0." And I was like, I don't know how safe I feel. But yeah, he came in. He shut him down. Easy. And then in the second game, Ty Floyd, he gives up 3 solo shots early on, goes 3.1, and then Coop comes in. Hefty lefty. And he was really good. He came out, he pitched 3 unearned innings, and then who came in? I think that might have been Gavin Guidry. Then he came in and shut it out for us. So the bullpen was really good. It's what we've been waiting for.
Yeah. Yeah, bullpen definitely changed paths from what we saw towards the end of the regular season for the Tigers when they just couldn't get a ball over the plate. Excuse me. They they were getting a lot of walks, and then when they would, crack down, be like, all right, I have to throw a strike now, it wouldn't be in the location that they wanted it, and so they were just getting hit all around the ballpark with runners on. It just wasn't looking good. But now we've seen a change of pace to where they're coming in and they're shutting down hitters instantly. They're not afraid to throw strikes because they know that defense behind them is playing at an elite level right now. And so it's just good baseball through and through for the Tigers.
Yeah. So what comes next, right?
Well, next we got Tennessee.
Tennessee.
6 o'clock Friday night. Who do you start?
Who do you start? Oh, that's a good question, because if you win, you're probably going to play Wake Forest, because we're in bracket 2, and it's LSU and Tennessee, and on the other side is Wake Forest and Stanford. So it is a good question.
Yeah. And we haven't seen Thatcher Hurd since the regionals.
Yeah, I mean,
he had a good performance.
That's a good question. So, I personally would start Skeens.
Wow.
I mean, I'm starting to believe in the Jay Johnson method of just starting your best pitcher.
Treating every weekend like it's a regular weekend, huh?
Yeah.
The good thing is we play the second game, so Wake Forest and Stanford will play at 1 o'clock. So that kind of gives us room to see who they pitch, right? So like if they throw their ace, then we could decide, well, do we feel comfortable enough to beat Tennessee again? Which I think we should, because if I'm not wrong, we swept them earlier in the season.
I don't recall. I remember last pod I said that we swept Kentucky. We did not. We won 2 out of 3. So we'll see. But yeah, I think it depends on who Wake Forest pitches. I think if we move on from Tennessee and end up playing Wake Forest, it's going to have to be a game about hitting their pitching instead of them hitting our pitching. You know what I mean? Because obviously they're crazy offensively, but pitching-wise, they're not incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, look at what they gave up against Alabama. They scored, I think, 6 runs that first game, and then they scored 22 that second game.
Yeah.
But they gave up 5, I think, that first game, and I think they also gave up 5 the second game.
Yeah, the first game, Wake Forest won 5-4, so just a one-run game.
Right.
But the second game, they did win 22-5. So yeah, those bats are what you're really scared of out of Wake Forest, which I think even push the narrative more to see if you can save Skeens, because if we get past Wake Forest, we get in that winner's bracket, and we have to get beat twice, I'll take the Tigers, to win one of those games no matter who we're playing.
Right. I think Marcelo, our friend from the know, I think he just said LSU is plus 300, second favorite odds behind Wake Forest. So I mean, these are the two like best teams.
Yeah.
Like Vegas thinks so. These are the 2 best teams that are on the same side of the bracket, and it's probably going to be what should be the College World Series Finals in bracket 2. So I guess needless to say, we think the Tigers are going to beat Tennessee, and we think Wake Forest is going to beat Stanford.
Yeah. Soundman's in the chat.
Hello, Soundman.
He said, you have to start Skeens. He'll have the possibility to get 3 outings if they make it that far, which is true.
Fair.
If you start him the first day, you have the possibility of starting him the last game, if it comes to that, which I'm a fan of, seeing Skeens twice in a weekend.
Without a doubt. And he gives us the beautiful information that we did not sweep Tennessee. See, it's hard to remember the regular season, man. Look, I'm in college. I go to LSU. It's a whirlwind. You know what I mean? I had a Japanese history class. Like what am I going to use that for? But while I was learning about Japanese history in the Meiji period, I mean, the Tigers were playing really important games in the regular season. So I missed out on a little bit of the regular season, but I'm here for the playoffs, and I say LSU beats Tennessee.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? Soundman said in this very chat, "What is this hat, Adam?" What was that for? What about my
I
hat?
think he wants you to button it.
You want me? I can button it. Ouch! It kind of hurts when I do that. Just because it's like it's a lot of pressure on my head. Does that look better? I think that looks good.
Yeah, we'll get back to him on that. He's starting up a unit right now. He's at work.
Oh, okay. How about bracket 1? Like the other side of this bracket.
Okay, so I was telling you this right before we started that I really think they should. Oh, we said only button one side.
Which side? Which side do you think?
I like that side.
Ooh. You said I looked like Crocodile Dundee when I did this earlier.
But yeah, I think I really think they should. Once it gets to this point, they should reseed it. Based on regular season plus regionals and super regionals, because to me these brackets aren't an even matchup on either side. You have what most people consider the top 1 and 2 teams, Wake Forest and LSU, on the same side. I really think they should be split up. It kind of makes for a more fair bracket, in my opinion.
Without a doubt. Look, I agree with you, but I think we're still going to end up with some good games.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no doubt. These teams that are in here have fought to be in here. They're going to give you good games. Like Stanford, for example. I just showed you the ending of.
Yeah, I missed it last night.
Their third game against Texas, which is, if you're a Texas fan, that's just heartbreak central.
Completely unlucky.
2 outs, bottom of the 9th, tied game, runners on second and first.
I feel bad for those guys.
Fly out to what should be a routine fly out to either second base, center field, or right field, right? Any one of those guys could have gotten to it. They all lose it in the lights, and it falls harmlessly to the ground.
So tragic.
And Stanford moves on.
The tragedy of baseball. But instead, Stanford gets Wake Forest instead of Texas. So we'll see.
But, yeah, so going on to the other bracket, we have first game will be TCU versus Oral Roberts. Oral Roberts, a team that a lot of people questioned. Why are they even in the regional?
I think it might simply be because of their name. I mean, no one knows Oral Roberts unless you're a college basketball
fan. Yeah, we
fan.
saw him a few years ago make it into the March Madness tournament and go on a run of upsets.
Right.
Upsetting teams left and right, making it all the way to the Sweet 16, I believe.
I think this Oral Roberts team was the better team than Oregon all weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, simply because, Oregon took that first game, but it was only because Oral Roberts blew, what was it, an 8-run lead? 8-run, 9-run lead. It was absurd. And then Oral Roberts wins the next game and then wins the next game. So, I think Oral Roberts was the better team through and through there. Who did TCU play? I forgot.
TCU, let me look. I remember them beating Arkansas by a huge run lead.
Indiana
State.
I didn't watch much of that series.
Yeah,
if I'm
me
honest.
neither.
TCU won both of the games. I think TCU's talented. I think they can.
TCU
can really stick it.
Has some really good bats. They've proven that, putting up 20-something runs on Arkansas, who was such a good team coming into this regional. I mean, they were the host, and they got beat twice by TCU.
The guy who runs LSU Barstool was pretty upset that Tennessee won over Southern Miss because they wanted a Southern Miss rematch. Because I think we lost.
A lot of people did.
We lost that regular season series, but it happens like that. I mean, it would have been nice to get a rematch, but we're playing that gaudy orange. In the famous words of Sandra Bullock in that insane movie. Oh, my God. Have you guys seen The Blind Side? What a crazy movie. That might be the most dated movie of all time.
Tim McGraw's in that movie.
I know. That makes it even crazier. I cannot believe that movie. It's crazy. But I digress.
Yeah. First game on the other side of the bracket, you have TCU versus Oral Roberts. I think TCU is going to run away with that. And then the later game will be Florida versus Virginia. probably, in my opinion, the best matchup of the first games.
Yeah, I mean we have number 2 versus number 7, right? Number 7.
Yep.
Yeah, we have number 2 versus number 7. Virginia, they dropped that first game to Duke in the Super Regionals, but then they win their next 2. And then Florida, I mean, they beat South Carolina straight out, and I was so glad to see that. I mean, we we talked about South Carolina last pod and how upset I was with South Carolina. And Florida came in and handled their business. I would love a scenario where the Tigers make it to the College World Series finals and they play Florida.
I was just about to say that my finals prediction at this point would be LSU versus Florida.
Yeah, I think personally, I think they're the best 2 teams on each side of the bracket.
Yeah.
I mean, I think LSU is better than Wake Forest, despite what Vegas says.
I think so because of, I think our bats match up pretty similarly. Like, I think we have, power combined with hitting evenly from between Wake Forest and LSU. I think they're a tight matchup. But when it comes to pitching, I think LSU has the better pitching than Wake Forest.
What are they saying? We lost to Southern Miss
in a regional, a few years ago.
2017 rematch. All right, that's a lot of information, y'all.
Yeah, our chat. Let me refresh it real quick because our chat's not updating the way it should be.
Ole Miss beat USM in Supers last year.
Let's see if that'll work. Maybe they'll start popping up now.
Yeah. But yeah, look, hey, Southern Miss, they're out. I don't need to talk about them no more. I'm just saying, I don't need to talk about them. I'm over it. All I see in front of me are these 8 teams, and I think we're in for some good baseball.
I mean, yeah, they're all good teams. There's you have the super teams in LSU, Wake Forest, and Florida. I'd even put Virginia in that category. But then you have the scrappy teams who can get it done, like the Stanford and the TCU and the Oral Roberts. Those teams can hang.
Yeah, but like you were saying, this Florida Virginia series, I think it's the best one of the opening slate coming up as the first games this weekend. But obviously, if LSU and Wake Forest win, then that's going to be the best game.
Yeah, everyone's going to watch that game.
That should be the best game of the tournament. So it's something to look forward to. And I mean, we both have LSU Florida in the finals. So
drop a comment who you think is going to come out of each bracket. Move on to the finals.
Ooh, the NBA finals.
Not the NBA finals. Okay, yeah, our looks like our chat's working now.
LSU and Florida in the final.
And yes, Dustin, we did talk about that tragic Texas ending.
Yeah.
Against Stanford.
We talked about them losing it in the lights. But speaking of lights, let's talk about the bright lights of Denver.
Wow.
Shining stars.
What a segue.
Came out in Denver last night and the night before and the night before.
Yeah. I mean, Redfish, if you're listening, right now or in the future, I was right.
You were right.
Nuggets in 5.
Yeah, you said Nuggets in 5. I had Nuggets in 6. I thought the Heat were gonna win that game in Miami.
As did I, especially coming off
we were watching. Yeah.
Coming off of a win in Denver. It looked for sure like the Heat were gonna come out and win. Their first game back home, and get ahead in the series, but they just couldn't get it done. Jokic just proving that he is a generational talent.
Jokic gets beat at Denver, and then he comes out in Miami and puts up a 30-20 triple-double. Were you watching that game? It was insane. He had a 30-20 triple-double. Jamal Murray had a 30-point triple-double. Like, it was insane.
Yeah, such a great duo. And what the Nuggets did in this series that I found the Heat couldn't was space the floor and get good looks at the basket. It kind of felt to me like the whole time the Heat, if their original play didn't work, they were kind of just chunking up a shot and hoping it would go in, whether it be contested or not. But the Nuggets, you see them, methodically beat this team down, passing the ball all the time, tons of ball movement from the Nuggets, and kind of just broke apart the Heat's defense till they found the good look they were looking for.
Yeah.
They were shooting at such a high clip the entire series. And, it only just feels right for Jokic to get that ring he's been chasing for, 8 seasons?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people wanted him to be MVP, and he said, fine, you're not going to give me the MVP, I'll go win the finals. I'll go get my chip.
Yeah. He said, I don't want a regular season MVP.
Right.
I want the finals MVP.
Ethan, in our chat, he says, Murray might be the best player possible next to Jokic. And that's an interesting statement, because I wanted to bring something up to you. I put it in the group chat the other night. There was something going around online. It was a picture. It was a spliced picture of Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, Stephen Curry and Kevin Durant, and LeBron James and Dwayne Wade. And they were asking you to start, bench, cut those duos. So I wanted to ask you right now, start, bench, cut. Jokic and Jamal Murray, Curry and KD, and LeBron and Dwayne Wade.
Okay. I'm going to start LeBron and Dwayne Wade. I'll bench Jamal Murray and Jokic, and I'll cut KD and Curry, mainly because I don't see KD and Curry as the duo there.
Me neither.
To me, it's the Splash Brothers.
It's him and Clay. So maybe replace KD with Clay. Then what? Does that change your answer?
If you replace KD with Clay,
like in that,
I would put them on top.
You would have them at 1.
They've been such a great duo the entire time they've been in the league.
Interesting.
For me, they've had a much longer stand with them two compared to LeBron and Dwayne Wade and Jamal Murray and Jokic. And they've also been a lot more successful.
Yeah. I'm very similar to you. Like if it's KD and Curry, like in the original hypothetical, I have the Heat duo, and then I have the Nuggets duo, and then I have the Golden State duo. But if Clay is there, I think I love LeBron. I'm the LeBron guy.
LeBron sexual.
So I still have the Heat number 1, but I have probably Curry and Clay in that second spot.
Yeah,
so
because they've
be at my bench.
Been that successful for such a long time.
I think Murray, he really found his groove in these playoffs. But he's relatively inconsistent. Not inconsistent, but inconsistently incredible. Like he wasn't having MVP nights every night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yeah, he'll give you some points, but in the regular season we saw him, in and out of the locker room, not playing a lot of times.
Right.
But in these playoffs, he proved that he belongs out there, and he proved that the Nuggets were right in selecting him and keeping him for this long. Him and Jokic kind of came up out of nowhere and have been together for a long time. I think they will continue to be this successful for at least 2 or 3 more seasons.
Me personally, I think we might be at a crossroads with this question. Jokic, I think Jokic can do it without Jamal Murray, but Jamal Murray couldn't do it without Jokic. Like, he's the Pippen. You know what I mean? Like, he's the second guy. But, Jokic is such a dominant player. He's in the middle of his prime, 2 MVPs, just won his first ring. Where does he rank all time? I mean, I think it's a really hard question to answer because he's still only 28. He's been in the league only 8 years. But, I mean, where do you have him? I mean, I think it's hard to deny that he's not a top 10 center?
If we're talking about centers,
Is he both? Is he a top 10 center of all time? Is he a top 20 NBA player of all time? I mean, at this point, like it's worth the conversation because 2 MVPs and a ring. I mean, a lot of people don't have that. Those accolades.
Yeah, there's a lot of people up there who would love to have that, that Finals MVP, that ring to cement their career. This would be a great question for Rebo Hustle. He is the standalone NBA guy. His knowledge of NBA is massive. Mine is not. But off the top of my head, with this past season and with what I think he'll do in the future, I would say he's a top 10 center of all time.
Wow. That's bold. I don't know. I have no idea
he
where
already has, 8 seasons in, only 28. I could see him doubling his career, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah, because he's at 12,000 points.
Over 12,000 points, shooting 55% on his career.
By the time he's 36, if he stays consistent, which is hard to believe, he'll definitely he's on pace for 24,000 points, and maybe subtract 100 points there and there. He's still over 20,000 by the time he's 36, and that's impressive. What does LeBron have? Like 40,000 points?
Something insane, yeah.
So divide LeBron into 2 players. You have 2 Jokic's. Does that work out? Does that math work? I don't know.
Let's look.
Let's look at this. We had to talk about LeBron, didn't we?
Yeah.
Let's look at some LeBron stats. Man, I can't believe they lost to the Nuggets. They were hot too.
On his career, he has 38,652 points. But this is a lot of seasons.
How do people not call him the GOAT, like, on the regular? I mean, we're not going to start the GOAT debate right now, because I feel like that will take up a lot of time. But I feel like it shouldn't be as much of a debate. I feel like LeBron is clear-cut the greatest player to ever live. It's a king, man. But anyway, the Nuggets are your 2023 NBA champions. Where do they go from here? There's been a lot of buzz today. What can this Nuggets team become a dynasty? I personally don't think so. I mean, I think they've had a similar team the past few years and they haven't been able to get it done. And I think in the modern NBA, it's really tough to build a dynasty. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we kind of, if you go back to like 2016, 2017, we saw the dynasties that were the Golden State Warriors, the Cleveland Cavaliers. It felt like they were up in the running for the finals for like 4 or 5 seasons in a row. And you've seen dynasties kind of fall off in the NBA. The Golden State Warriors, they kept the same, main points of their personnel, but they just haven't been as successful. The Cavaliers completely changed their team. The Nuggets have had pretty much the same team for the past 3-4 seasons. And like you said, they couldn't get it done. They were a favorite to win it all last year, and they couldn't get it done. Same thing the year before that. But this year, it kind of felt a little different about them. A lot of people, when they came into the playoffs being ranked number 1, a lot of people thought they were going to have a similar track as the last few seasons and not be able to make it all the way to the finals.
Right.
And they just showed complete dominance all the way, even through the finals, against the Heat. And I think that this team could stay. They were talking about earlier how the Nuggets don't really need to do anything. They have a good team. The players want to play there. There's players on the outside wanting to get in the Nuggets organization. I think if they keep this team the same, they could see some success for a couple of years at least.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we have ESPN on right here, and and at Sports Center, and they were just talking about, hey, these Nuggets, most of these guys are coming back, except Bruce Brown has a player option. Dude, he's the glue holding that team together.
Yep, he sure is. But they're also talking about the Nuggets will probably look very similar next year. However, the Heat will probably look very different. They'll probably still have Jimmy Butler and Bam, but as far as all the other player goes who played so well in the playoffs, they're going to want some more money, as they should. They performed very well in the playoffs. Like, you have Gabe Vincent and Caleb Martin, Max Strus. These bench players coming up out of nowhere, someone's going to pay them.
Yeah, you have to think about that, and you have to think about, hey, maybe the Heat are probably going to be buyers, not sellers in the offseason.
Correct.
Like, because there are some high value guys who are going to be on the market. Like, isn't Dame he on the market? There's Jaylen Brown, he'll be on the market. So say like those guys. One of those guys signs with the Heat. What does that team look like next year? Can they make the finals again? I think this was kind of a miracle run for this Heat team, like making it all the way to the NBA Finals. But I think they still have some work to do.
I think step one is to get rid of Kyle Lowry. I think most people would agree with me.
You are the biggest Kyle Lowry hater on the planet.
I'm the third biggest that I know.
Oh yeah, name him.
Rebo Hustle and his friend Cameron.
Why do they hate Kyle Lowry?
He's not as good as people think he is.
I like his last name. Have you seen the movie series Bad Boys?
Like with
Will Smith and oh my God, Martin Lawrence.
Martin Lawrence, yeah.
Will Smith's character's name is Mike Lowry. That's how they say it too, Mike Lowry.
Yeah, like the seasoning, and the gravy and Winn-Dixie.
Yeah. But anyway, that's basketball. That's your NBA Finals. I'm sure that you and Rebo Hustle are probably going to talk more about basketball come next week because I sadly won't be here. I'll be in a different state.
Yeah, and just to give all you listeners an outlook, we are moving, and so it'll be me and Redfish still when he gets back from his hiatus. He wanted to get away. No, but yeah, we are getting out of. Sadly, we're getting out of the K-Town Pound.
Yeah.
Boys on Brightside will be no more. We'll always be Boys on Brightside at heart, but we will be moving and relocating. So we may or may not have the podcast up and running next week. If we do, it'll be either on Wednesday or Thursday. So you just follow us on Twitter. We'll keep you updated on there, and we'll let you know when it gets closer if we'll be able to have one or not. We'll have if we don't have one next week, we will absolutely have one the following week,
without a doubt. Moving back to sports, we talked baseball last week. Let's talk hockey this week. I'm kidding. We're not going to talk hockey because we don't know that much about hockey.
We just know them Ice Cats.
Right, they're about to lose.
They're about to lose.
About to lose to the Knights. There's someone at the No who's with the No that really loves the Golden Knights. So I think is it Dave? It's somebody who really loves the Knights. So I'll be happy for him.
Yeah,
if they win.
I'm not a big, especially being in South Louisiana. I'm not a avid hockey watcher.
Right, but yeah, let's talk some football, man. What's going on in your football mind?
A lot of change coming up this season. I mean, we saw a draft which was stacked, loaded with talent. All like rounds 1 through 4, really.
Yeah.
Stacked with talent. And there's going to be a lot of change on a lot of teams. I mean, we're looking at one right now in the Giants who besides their main points, which is Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley, have got a completely new offense.
Yeah, they go and trade for Darren Waller, and they pick Jalen Hyatt up in this draft. So Darren Waller, I mean, he's a touchdown machine. He'll come down and he'll run people over.
Yeah, he's a big guy and he's fast.
Yeah, and Jalen Hyatt, I mean, he looked really good for Tennessee. So we'll see. These Giants, they made the playoffs last year, shockingly.
Yeah, shout out Brian Daboll,
huh? Yeah. Well, did he win Coach of the Year?
Yes.
That's right. He won Coach of the Year, but I didn't think he should have. I thought it should have been Doug Peterson for Jacksonville.
From first pick to playoffs.
Yeah, but we also have DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
And all of these new quarterback wide receiver duos. Where does DeAndre Hopkins land? Because he's visiting with the Patriots on a 2-day visit tomorrow and Thursday. So where do you think he lands?
I still think he'll find his way to the Chiefs.
The Chiefs. Imagine, that'd be crazy.
I mean, you look at their number one receiver right now is Kadarius Toney.
But they're looking at him like a number one. Like they think Kadarius Toney can ball.
But I think if DeAndre Hopkins is available and you have the money to get him, which they do, how could you say no?
I mean, that's fair.
Especially, if you're DeAndre Hopkins, you want to play with Patrick Mahomes.
I think it's one of those things where every team wants DeAndre Hopkins. Like, there's no reason for everybody not to want DeAndre Hopkins. The question is, where does DeAndre Hopkins want to go? Because the Ravens, I mean, that's a question, but the Ravens just got Odell Beckham. I think DeAndre, he wants to be a number one somewhere. So that'll be interesting. I think.
I agree that I think he wants to be a number one somewhere. That's why there was a lot of talk about him going to the Bills. That's why I don't think he'll go to the Bills, because Diggs is the number one option.
Yeah.
He's solidified that role. He's played outstanding football past 3 seasons.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's not going anywhere. I don't think he'll sign with the Bills. A lot of people are talking about the Browns, reuniting him with Deshaun Watson to recreate that 2017 season.
You mentioned the Bills, you mentioned the Browns. What about the Bears? Huh? What about those Bears? DJ Moore and DeAndre Hopkins on the same team,
Darnell Mooney.
And Dalvin Cook.
And every free agent.
Yeah. No, dude. Imagine, DeAndre Hopkins aside, imagine Dalvin Cook, because he just got released by the Vikings. Imagine him on that Bears team. They are in dire need of a running back, and I mean that with all my heart. I think that's a great fit.
Yeah, it would be a nice fit.
I think he'll thrive in the style of offense they're going to have.
Yeah, especially with Fields being able to run the ball. I think Dalvin Cook would thrive in an offense where the quarterback has a lot of mobility.
Yeah,
because he's one of those running backs who's great at catching the check downs, the screen passes, being like the last option on a pass play and turning that into huge gains.
Mark my words, in your fantasy drafts, you need to go after Bears players, especially if Dalvin Cook is a Bear, because Dalvin Cook is already a top echelon, running back. But on the Bears, he's going to be a different level. I mean, he's going to be running back number one kind of conversation. Justin Fields, he's going to have an even better season, which means an even better fantasy season. So he is going to be like top 5 in quarterbacks. DJ Moore, he's going to come back. He's going to come back and have a better season than he did with the Panthers.
Yeah, he's always been, talked about as one of these great receivers, but I know he's a great receiver, but he just hasn't had, the quarterback to really prove that yet.
Now he does. Yeah, look, if you guys are a little new to the pod, me and Mustang here, we are really big Bears Bears guys.
Whoa.
What, dude? We did a podcast like last month where you said that you have Justin Fields winning the MVP.
All right, it was a hot
him
take.
winning the MVP.
It was a very hot take. I think he could.
I think he could too.
He's one of the we saw Lamar do it a few years ago. I think he can replicate that season.
The fact that we think that he could makes us Bears guys. You know what I mean? Like no one else believes that. Justin Fields in the fifth.
Brad Moore in the fourth.
Bears stack. Ooh.
It's the Brady Moss stack 2.0.
That would be incredible. Bears have an easy schedule, man. I'm excited.
The funny thing is that in our league, there's 14 people.
It's a lot.
So grabbing Fields in the fifth or more in the fourth is kind of like unbelievable.
See, my thing is, I think smart fantasy leagues are going to draft Fields earlier than that.
Exactly.
I think Fields might go as soon as the third.
Yeah, quarterbacks start going off the board.
Yeah, he'll be like the fourth quarterback off the board.
A lot of people, including myself, have him as a very high prospect coming into this season.
Think about the quarterbacks that are going to go off the board. Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen probably. It'll be Jalen Hurts.
Herbert.
Will Herbert go before Fields? I personally have Fields over Herbert. Like when it comes to fantasy value.
Well, I mean, we've seen it depends on, like the type of fantasy player you are. If you're one of those guys who want to have it safe, like have a quarterback who he's in season out, he's given you those points. Me personally, I'm like that. I'd go with Herbert over Fields. Just because I know it's a safe option.
I think it also depends on the league. If you get bonuses, for quarterbacks who get, however many rushing yards, if they get rushing touchdowns, are those worth more than normal touchdowns?
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's something you have to think about. Dude, wow. I love that take.
I don't.
Fields over Burrow. I'm sending that to the president. Oh, my God. I love that take, and I'll stand by it. Even though I have the Bengals winning the Super Bowl this year,
I think the Bengals are going to be on a mission this season.
Yeah, I think this is a good year for them. But I think fantasy wise, I think Fields is kind of going to be him. I think he's going to be the guy.
All right, well, speaking of fantasy, let's get to the controversial subject of: is Bijan Robinson a top 10 fantasy running back?
No,
absolutely not.
He's not. I mean, I feel like I say this every time I talk about Bijan.
I feel like only people in Texas or in Atlanta believe he's a top 10 fantasy running back. I mean, if we're talking dynasty league, like a redraft or just resetting your team, he'll probably be the first pick.
Yeah.
Just because rookie running back with a lot of positive outlook. Great first pick for a dynasty team, but just a regular fantasy league,
redraft leagues. I don't think so,
not.
Man.
No.
I mean, he's on a really bad offense with Desmond Ridder. I used to love Desmond Ridder. He is no longer my guy. But he's going to be sharing a backfield with Tyler Algier, who had a really good season for what he was given last year.
Yeah.
And I mean,
being running back too and getting that and having that kind of season is pretty crazy.
And people even forget about Cordarrelle Patterson because he's still going to be in that backfield every now and then. Like even if they use him less out of the backfield, he's still going to be there. Gibbs over B-Rob. I think I agree with that.
I don't know if I agree with that.
You don't agree with that? I think Jahmyr Gibbs is in that offense. I think he's going to catch a lot of passes. So in PPR leagues, I like Gibbs more.
Yeah. So it all depends because Gibbs is going to be the number 2 option behind David Montgomery.
Right.
David Montgomery's going to be the lead back. Gibbs will come in, third and long on passing downs if they're running a pass play. He'll be the guy to catch the screen passes or run on the outside. Dave Montgomery's, for the most part, going to be pounding the rock.
The James White, man. He's going to be the James White of the Lions.
But then you go to Atlanta. B-Rob's going to be the number 1 back.
You think?
Yeah.
I'm not so sure. I think it might be more of a 50-50 split, like it is in Green Bay, like with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. I think it might be like that.
And I could see that happening, but from what I've seen so far, what I think is going to happen is that Tyler Algier is going to play a similar role to Jahmyr Gibbs, and B-Rob is going to be the David Montgomery of the Falcons.
Right, I could see that.
Where Algier's, I consider him the quicker, shiftier guy. He's going to catch all those screen passes and, passing options and get those first downs on the 3rd and long or the 3rd and short. But then you get to the goal line, B-Rob's going to get all the goal line touchdowns.
But how often are they going to be on the goal line? We're
not,
talking about
not
the Falcons.
Very, not very.
We're talking about the Falcons. I mean, Detroit is going to be a contender this year.
Yeah.
I mean, they are going to be scoring a lot because they have a passing game, and they have a running game, and they have a passable defense. So, and mix in the threat of Sam Laporta from the tight end spot, dude. I mean, I think the Lions are going to be a more versatile offense. It's going to open up more opportunities for Gibbs to get touches and receptions. I think Dan Campbell is a smarter play caller than whoever Atlanta has. I mean, I just think Atlanta is pretty sorry at this point of who they are, and I think their offense is going to be really hard to bet on, especially when it comes to fantasy, players.
But my thing is in fantasy, especially with running backs, like take Josh Jacobs last season, one of the worst teams in the NFL, led the league in rushing, was the number 1 fantasy back. A few years ago, Saquon Barkley did the same thing on the Giants, who was another really bad team.
My thing is, though, like, with the Raiders, you have to think about, like, the defense of that team. That defense was abysmal. But the offense, I mean, they had Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
And Josh Jacobs. And they had Hunter Renfrow, who never played, but he was there. Who was on the other side of Devontae Adams? Mac Hollins. That's who it was.
Hollins.
It was Mac Hollins. They had Darren Waller whenever he played. So
he didn't play much.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, Foster Moreau, current New Orleans Saint. Yeah. So look, they had an okay offense. I don't see it in B-Rob. Not in redraft leagues. Not this year.
Not
maybe
this year.
The year after.
Yeah.
I think the Falcons might be trying to make some moves after this coming year, but we'll see.
Yeah, and it's a similar thought process behind B-Rob for me as it is to Anthony Richardson on the Colts. I don't think he's going to be that Cam Newton level player that everybody thinks he's going to be. He might be a bust.
You think? I don't know, man. We'll have to see. I think the comparisons to Cam Newton are kind of right. But he's not as strong as Cam
Exactly.
Newton.
Yeah, Cam Newton was, they have a similar build and size. Well, not build. They have a similar size, but Cam Newton was muscle.
Right.
Anthony Richardson is fat.
I'd be interested in seeing it. I honestly have no idea how he's gonna be on this kind of really bad Colts team.
Yeah, I think he might be the next Jamarcus Russell.
Jamarcus Russell. There's nobody that's gonna be as bad as Jamarcus Russell. They say history repeats itself, but every now and then, when it comes to sports, the stars align and you get the worst prospect you've ever seen in your life. And it just happened to be Jamarcus Russell. Yeah. I don't think we'll ever see another Jamarcus Russell. Staying on the topic of fantasy with these last few minutes of the pod, give me your ranking of these 3 tight ends, these 3 rookie tight ends.
Okay, for fantasy, right?
For the next fantasy season.
Okay.
And we could talk about it a little bit. So let's talk about Michael Mayer, Dalton Kincaid, and Sam Laporta. Let's talk about those 3 guys. Who do you rank best to worst in fantasy football?
Okay. Redfish is gonna...
You think he's going to be mad at you for this?
He's gonna love me for this. But I have Sam Laporta.
Sam Laporta at 1?
At 1. because of the offense. right? The Lions, we saw T.J. Hawkinson be so involved,
Right.
and Sam Laporta's going to come in, and he's already, plays very similar to him. He's just going to be T.J. Hawkinson again for the Lions. A tight end who's going to catch the ball on those out routes close to the the sideline, who's going to be a red zone threat.
Didn't Hawkinson also go to Iowa? I could be wrong about that.
I have no clue where Hawkinson went to.
But I feel like
college.
that was part of the comparison there.
But yeah, so Sam Laporta on that offense, he's coming in to be that guy, and I think he will be that guy. Next up, this goes against everything that I stand for. But second, I do have Dalton Kincaid.
Ooh.
Just because of how dangerous and versatile that Bill's offense is. Him and Knox will be sharing snaps, but I don't think they'll really be I think they'll be on the field at the same time a lot.
You think they're going to run that dual
because
system?
of the way the Bills run. I think with Josh Allen, they have enough room for 3 big white men on the field. And I think it'll work well because, you have Dawson Knox he can just fly at the tight end position, really. We've seen him beat linebackers by a few steps. And so he'll kind of be more the deep threat, but when you get to the red zone, Dalton Kincaid's going to be that guy to catch those end zone fades, those slants over the middle, those curl routes. He's a big target, and he's also really strong. So
Right.
he's going to be able to win at the line of scrimmage.
And what about Michael Mayer? Why
Mayer,
is he last?
So he is my favorite out of the 3.
Without a doubt, mine too. I think he's an incredible tight
But
end.
I think the Raiders are going to be god-awful this year. So I can't put him above the other 2. If he were on a different team, dude, he'd be number 1 in a heartbeat. But as the Raiders stand, I don't see it.
Thank you for the help in the chat. Hawkinson went to Iowa.
And
Kittle
did too,
went to Iowa too. Speaking of Kittle, we're talking about, Michael Mayer. Jimmy Garoppolo has been throwing to George Kittle for the past, 3 years? 4 years? However long he's been there. He likes a tight end. So we'll see.
He does, but, Kittle and Michael Mayer aren't the same tight end. Michael Mayer is more of a, he's Gronk.
Yeah.
Kittle is more of a speedy guy who can get open. Gronk was just overpower your defender and you're tall enough to catch it over him and then throw him on the ground.
Yeah.
That's what I see Michael Mayer that's how I see his career playing out, to where he's going to be, kind of like a red zone threat only. He's not going to be one to run downfield and catch a vert.
See, with these 3 tight ends, I'm really reluctant to put labels on them. There's a lot of question marks because you have no idea how these teams are going to use these guys.
Yeah, especially, tight ends, especially coming into the NFL, they change their game a lot from college. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But as far as what I've seen so far, those are kind of my comparisons and how I'd rank them in fantasy.
All right. Keep an eye out for Sam Laporta, Dalton Kincaid, and then Michael Mayer in your fantasy drafts. It'll be very interesting this year to see what order those 3 guys go in fantasy.
Yeah, it's never really a safe option, especially if you're a hardcore fantasy player and you're putting up a lot of money. It's hard to take some of those rookies and put them in your lineup straight away. But
I think it's going to happen though this year with these 3 guys. Yeah,
and plus there's so much talent coming into the league right now. There's going to be lots of lineups with plenty of rookies on them. But I'll give you some fantasy advice here. If you're wanting to play risky, you also have to play safe. Being that you can go and take these rookies, but you better get another option. Right? So, if you want to go get Jackson Smith and Jigba, you're probably going to have to go and pick him up in, the 2nd or 3rd round because he's high on a lot of people's draft boards. But being that he's a rookie, they don't have him in, the 1st round with the Jay Jettas and the Cooper Kupps.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for example, if you want Jackson Smith and Jigba, you're going to have to get him in the second round. Your next pick, in my opinion, has to be a guy who can, if he's not going to play like people expect him to, or if he gets hurt. We've seen a lot of rookies come in the league and get hurt because the contact level is so much higher than in college. You have to get a safe option to back that up.
Wow. You've really thought about this. Man, I would have never pulled that sentence in a million years. This guy knows his fantasy. Wise words from Mustang over here, man. And, we're past the hour mark. I think that just about does it for your Off the Dome Sports Podcast.
Yeah, I got work tomorrow morning.
Ooh.
Gotta wake up at 2 a.m.
That's really early, man. Lately I haven't been going to bed until 2 a.m., so it is a miracle that we're both awake and sitting here at the same time, considering how different our rhythms are right now.
Yeah.
I had fun today.
Oh, absolutely. Always have fun on this couch in front of Joe Shiesty.
Last time at Brightside. Last time on this couch.
Well, we might have this couch again.
Oh, maybe. I don't know what they got going on. I'm a guest at their house, so we'll see. I'm lucky that they let me in here. I'm lucky that they let me do this over the summer, and I'm lucky that I get to spend my free time here with you guys.
Yeah, I mean we're glad to have you.
That got really tense, y'all. You guys are not in the room, but that got real tense.
But yeah, be on the lookout. Follow us on Twitter. We'll definitely keep y'all updated on when the next pod will be. Like I said, if it's gonna be next week, it'll either be Wednesday or Thursday night, because I am working.
Sorry, had to stretch out my flap.
I will be working Monday and Tuesday as well as the next weekend. But yeah, it's always great time. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Make sure to follow us on all of our social media. Make sure to like and comment on the pod. Y'all been doing a great job of blowing up those comments. Love to see it. Love to, interact with y'all. And one more time, shout out The Know, spelled the correct way. Kneaux.
The only way to spell it. I'm going to make that a thing.
Yeah,
only way to spell it.
Make sure to check them out, as well as all the other, podcasts and articles that they post. Check out their website. And
I am Clown Car.
And I'm Mustang. And thanks for tuning in.